Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And this is going to be connected to past videos, but not in the same way. I've talked previously about closed cultures and closed systems, and there's an underappreciated, understood factor or feature of this that I want to cover in this video. So, closed cultures. What do I mean by that? I mean security cultures, a lot of them, the military, law enforcement. These are closed cultures, examples of closed cultures, but by no means all of them. And here's the thing, especially, for example, in the military, and granted, I am not a military veteran. I've never been enlisted, but I do understand the principles of it. And I also understand from testimony by soldiers and ex-soldiers that once you join the military, once you enlist, you become military property, not just in a spirit of being property, but in a very real sense. They tell you what to do, and they tell you also that you have no more politics at that point. You have no more opinions. You do what you're told, and you go where you're told to go and do what you're told to do without question. So this isn't a judgment of that culture. It's not a criticism. It's not an analysis of it even. What it is an exploration of the byproducts of this culture existing anywhere, especially when it merges with mainstream society. Civilians, that is, do not exist this way. We do not function as property, first of all. We are allowed to have a voice and an opinion, and at the very least, we aren't expected necessarily to just automatically do everything we're told. But this is confusing to people who are in the military and coming out of the military. They see things in different terms. They see people as, they see leadership, as being a matter of dominating and subjugating everyone underneath you, everyone around you, in fact. This spirit, this attitude is prevalent in those closed cultures, not just in the military, but in all the ones that I listed and others. So here's the problem. When you have an entire class of people who are employed in this environment, this atmosphere, and then they try to rejoin the greater world, and there is a whole world going on out here that doesn't operate that way. And it's a much bigger world than the little tiny world that they knew. But it creates an illusion, doesn't it? It creates an illusion that things are manageable, first of all, that people are manageable and should be managed, that security should be a high concern, and that nothing should be permitted that isn't known and trusted by some central authority. All of these are features of a closed system, and none of those are compatible or supportable by mainstream society because it's an open system. It is that simple. It's a matter of logic, really. So, in conclusion, I don't want this to be a super long video. There is an attitude connected to this, is a little bit of an aside, where it is assumed by the common person, just about everybody you talk to, that conflict is unavoidable, that tons of negative and terrible, tragic things are unavoidable. They're necessary evils, and right down to and including conflicts between people just on the street or in their homes, and there's no better way to do it because it's always been this way. Okay, pause. No. First of all, no, it has not always been this way. There is another way to do it, and if you can't explain to me in clear terms the reasons for our economic system, then you cannot convince me that you know how else it could be, first of all. Okay, there are reasons for our economic system, and they aren't complicated. Despite what you may have heard, despite what you heard in school, despite what you hear from literal economists, it's not complicated. It's erring on the side of cowardice. Our entire system in this part of the world assumes that our nation will be under attack at all times. It errs on the side of hostility towards foreign influences, and in the spirit of safety and defending our homeland, we assume, by way of our economic system, that taxes must be collected at gunpoint in order to protect ourselves. What if, I'm just saying, what if this choice, and it is a choice, is an error? What if everybody's not out to get us? What if we manifest that reality by adopting such a system, and eventually, not even before long, it plays out to become real? What if all the conflicts you see, and I'm not saying we can eliminate all conflict. I'm not saying it's possible to just make everybody get along 100%. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that to assume that all of the problems you see are given, they are a foregone conclusion, when in fact it's plain to me that they're not, I'm going to have issue with that. I'm going to take issue with that. I see a better world. It's in my imagination, and I believe several countries throughout history have tried this, tried and failed miserably, not just because they did it badly, but because of the United States influence in their affairs. Our cowardly leaders, such as they are, have decided to follow directions, uphold the principles that they don't really understand themselves, and do so in such a catastrophically bad way that not only are other countries being killed by our people, they're killing our own people now. And they have been for a long time. Here's the problem. Okay, now, it isn't complicated. Our economic system, I'll wrap up this just over 5 minutes. Our economic system is aimed, like I said, at forcing and ensuring the ongoing payment of taxation so that we can fund infrastructure to support the military. And this was cemented with World War II. This ideology that we are vulnerable and at any moment are under attack by countless invisible enemies was cemented in the minds of our government and its leadership in World War II. It scared the shit out of everybody. And we have trauma. We have trust issues and massive post-traumatic stress disorder as a collective. We do. We absolutely do. All of our systems are designed to support the idea that we could and will be attacked. Scale that down to an individual level. How does that look? It looks like a paranoid schizophrenic person is what it looks like. It looks like somebody who's sitting over here on the Western Hemisphere, just arming themselves to the teeth for decades, decade over decade, with trillions and trillions of dollars worth of, nukes and God knows what. And it's because some, dirt farmers, you said? They were our threat. They took us down. It was the dirt farmers. I don't want to get into that, but okay. they need an excuse. Every once in a while, they got to roll out some excuse, some publicity stunt to justify their existence and to, at least give a little bit of credibility to what the hell they're doing. So they pick some random dirt farmers, say, hey, let's go kick these guys' ass. Like the Iraq War, following, the alleged attacks by these same people on the World Trade Center. Okay, well, I don't want to get into it, but what if all these are just examples to justify the existence of infrastructure that has no other reason other than to be paranoid and safe from invisible imaginary enemies, or enemies that we create in a circular fashion just by acting the way that we do? Yeah. What if breaking the cycle is as simple as choosing butter over guns? This should sound familiar. Guns or butter. Do you remember that one from school? Do you remember hearing that one? What are we choosing every day? Are we spending $10 trillion a decade on guns or butter? At some point, I have to say, I'm tired of speaking about it. I'm tired of trying to explain it to people because they're either incapable of understanding it, or just they're on the take or unwilling. They're just corrupt themselves. I don't even honestly know why people don't feel more passionately about having a better world to live in, about supporting a system that is obviously hostile, not just to the rest of the world, but to themselves, including the aristocracy. Are they happy? Like, literally no one here is happy. Come on, holy shit, people. All right, wake up. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.